Said I'm live. So, hey, welcome to the Comic Den, guys. I'm your host, Ace Knuckles, and today we're going to be doing our monthly reads for September. Sorry, just getting over a cold. I know. Sorry. Oh, I'm not sure how the audio quality is going to be. I haven't been able to really test my mic yet, so hopefully it sounds good. If it doesn't, and you guys are watching this live, make sure you put it in the chat box. So that's another thing. If you guys do want to, join in, feel free to join in. It'll make it a lot more fun for me, at least, so that I'm not just talking to a camera for 30, 45 minutes. But yeah, might as well go ahead and jump in. So, as you know, I like to go through these just alphabetical order, and I got a couple of special things that I have off to the side that I'll probably hit kind of more towards the end, or if somebody joins in and wants to talk about it. But first, we will start with Aquaman. Now, this is Aquaman 51, and this is more of just kind of setting things up. Now that he's off of the island from all the old gods, which kind of sets some stuff up, and I'm not quite sure where they're going with it, but it's got some potential to be really cool, and there's also a whole lot of other drama that's going on that's going to be interesting how that plays out between Mera and Aquaman. But they're also setting up probably one of the most insane pieces of equipment I've ever seen in DC Comics. And let me see if I can pull it up. Here we go. We've got Mecha Manta, and I'm not really going to go into it too much about what it is or why it even exists. Just know that it does, and we'll all be better for it. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be pretty intense, and it seems like the story behind it is going to really play into the whole Year of the Villain thing. And I think it's going to hopefully build up Manta's character a little bit more. I haven't been following along with Aquaman forever. I jumped on with Jeff Johns, and then I kind of hung around during the Rebirth, which I really liked. I was always a little bit confused because Rebirth started off with Aquaman fighting Manta, and then both of them deciding, well, fine, I just won't kill you. And then Manta just turns around immediately and starts trying to kill Aquaman again. So I always thought that was a little bit weird. But yeah, it has potential to have a lot of character development beside, you killed my dad, I'm going to kill you sort of thing. Moving on, we have Avengers. There we go. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out my lighting situation in here too. And this has been a pretty cool story. Avengers hasn't really been, I don't know, it seems like it might be building towards something, and then it kind of falls off. And then I think part of the problem too is like an event happens, and then everybody has to go play in the event, and then it has to come back, and it kind of throws off the vibe. But I really like how they're expanding on Ghost Rider, and usually when they start really hammering home different characters that you maybe haven't seen in a while, that means there might be something coming down the pike for a movie or a show or something like that. They did it with Blade. All of a sudden, Blade showed up, and he was part of the Avengers now. And then guess what was announced at one of the Comic-Cons is that Blade's getting a movie. Not that I'm upset about it, but it just seems like they're doing that. And with the new Ghost Rider and the Demon Charger, it doesn't seem like he ever got a whole lot of, the fan base never really got built up that much, which I think it kind of sucks because there's a lot of potential there. But it also, I just don't think anybody really knew a whole lot about the character. And some people were just really big fans of the original Ghost Rider, and that's the one they wanted to see. And so they're introducing him back, and then a bunch of other Ghost Riders. So it seems like there might be something in the works there, and maybe Jason Aaron was told to kind of run with it. But you never know, because Jason Aaron also wrote Ghost Rider, so who knows? I mean, honestly, what I wish they would do is have a complete line of just comics from back in the prehistoric age, was like the first Ghost Rider, and back when Odin was younger, and the first Iron Fist, and Agamotto, and all them. I know he's kind of hitting them in these one shots, but man, I wish they would just go ahead and do a full on run of those, because you can do whatever you want with it. I mean, there's no canon that you have to really follow, as far as I know. So he can kind of just make it up as he goes, as long as it kind of fits the story that ends up happening. So I don't know. If you guys are reading, again, sorry, this is going to be kind of disjointed, but if you guys are reading any of these, or if you hated any of these, or if you loved any of these, or if you have any suggestions on things that I need to pick up, go ahead and drop those in the comments too, either in the live chat, or I'll see them whenever my notifications ring up and say that I've got something. So yeah, moving on, I'm just going to pull this whole stack because, holy crap. Okay. All right. All of these right here are Batman of one form or the other. Yeah, I read a lot of Batman, I guess. I didn't realize it until now. A third of my stack is gone. And then I've got, I guess I'm a fan of Batman. So this right here is going to be Tom King's run of Batman. So it's 76 and 77. And I know some of these came out a long time ago. And I know that I'm a little behind, but it's because I'm just saving them up as I read them. And so every week I get new comics, and then I go through and I set my comics up to read differently than I set my comics up to review. I guess I probably should have explained that a while ago. So what I do is I rank my comics from the ones I'm most excited to read all the way at the bottom, and then I work my way up. And so the ones that I'm just kind of pushing through and to see if something comes up, Detective Comics is a good example of that. Whenever I get a new Detective Comics, it goes at the top of this week's pile. Now, if in last week's pile I have a Batman, and then in this new poll week, I've also got a Batman, I just put the new Batman right behind the old Batman. But if, say, I have a Ninja Turtles and Batman, but I don't have a new one, I don't just put this in with the old stack. I put it at wherever it would go in my new stack. I know that's kind of confusing, but what was happening was I just kept never getting to the ones that I really was excited to read, because every week I'd get new comics, and then some of them I'd be more excited about, some of them I'd be less excited about. And so those would always get pushed down to the bottom. So this was a way that I could still get to the ones that I was excited about, and then still have some sort of reading order. And it's also nice because if I get 2 Batman comics in a row, I can read through it almost like a tiny little trade. But yeah, so getting into City of Bane, I know some people love it, some people hate it. I like it. I like a good slow burn story, which is why I've really been into Tom King's run on Batman anyway, which I've said before. But people were complaining that I've watched, they were complaining that, well, Batman's not doing anything. He's just hanging out in France. I'm like, okay, but every other story that we see of Batman, he's just rushing back into action. So it's always interesting for me to see like a new perspective of him. He has to slow down. He has to wait. He has to plan. He has to do these things that we don't normally see him do. It is a little bit weird to see him just swimming when he knows Gotham is on fire, essentially. But, you know, it's whatever. Like I said, I would rather see a story spread out over 12 issues and be slow in places but have a more complete story than be 6 issues and just action-packed, but then there's not a whole lot of story to it. I think in the past, Superman kind of suffered from that, where he would just go in and punch things, and then especially in like the Rebirth, it kind of slowed down a little bit, and there's more story, and you get more character development, and even in the villains, you get more character development that way. So yeah, I just, like I said, and I'll say it every single time I get on here because I'll probably talk about Batman until Tom King's not writing it anymore. But I would much prefer like a slow story. I mean, if you want to read it quick, just go get the trade. I mean, wait until the comic goes to trade and then buy the trade. You can read it all at once, and then it reads a little faster. But that's kind of how I look at it. I look at it as a trade that hasn't been put together yet. It's just sections of it. So I don't know. That's just me. If you guys have a different opinion on it, let me know. Next, we have Batman and Ninja Turtles, the third installment. And this is issue 4 and 5, so I've still got issue 6 that I get to read. I've loved all of these. From the first one, the second one was okay. It wasn't as good as the first one. I love the third one, and I think the way they integrated everything in was very smooth. It was awesome the way that okay, so I don't know how many of you guys are reading this, and I don't know how many of you guys are caught up or how many of you guys are interested. If you guys want spoilers, let me know. If you don't want spoilers, then let me know, because there's a lot in here that I want to talk about, but I can't really get to without spoiling some awesome details. So yeah, I'll just skip it this time. If you guys have any strong opinions about it, let me know. Next, we have Batman Superman, number 1. And you have to believe I also got the Superman version that would sit right here. But without thinking about it, I've already got it put up. So sorry about that. But yeah, this was an awesome story. And this is coming, I mean, it's essentially a sequel to The Batman Who Laughs. It is picking up directly after that. And the surprise ending at the very back of this, yeah, it was well worth it. I'm not going to show you guys because if you haven't picked it up, if you haven't read it, then you are further behind than I am on some of my reading. So, but yeah, I think it's going to go in great directions. And the good thing about writing The Batman Who Laughs is, first of all, Scott Snyder's really the only one who's done it so far. As far as I know, he might have shown up in other things and here and there. But to have Williamson covering him now, yeah, it's phenomenal. And the direction that he's taking him in with the whole premise is who is infected. Coming out of The Batman Who Laughs, we know that Gordon's infected, and then the whole promo poster was the Batman Who Laughs moving chess pieces, but the chess pieces were members of the Justice League or just superheroes in general, and all of them had X's over their eyes. So it's going to be really cool to see who's infected and who's not. I also heard a theory that maybe they're not infected, that maybe he's bringing them over from the dark multiverse, and it's just that infected version of them. I don't think that'd be as cool. I think, Dark Knight's Metal kind of already did that. And I know they kind of set it up that way anyway, when there was this giant army of corrupted heroes that came through that Wonder Woman fought. But I just think that wouldn't be as good of a story. I could be wrong. I'm not a famous comic book writer. So who knows? What do I know? I just know what I would enjoy more, and that's if these characters that we've been reading for years, these characters that we've been following, get infected. Now, obviously, they're not going to stay infected, and they're not going to die or anything like that. Just because, why would they do that? It's a comic book that they're writing. There might be a couple of people on the periphery that die, or some C or D list characters that die. But other than that, it's not going to be that big of an issue with losing characters to this virus or whatever it is. But Batman's already shown that he can heal himself from it. so they know they have a cure. What it's going to come down to is each person's individual genetic makeup. So we'll have to figure out how that goes. Next, I have 4 issues. We have 9, 10, 11, and 12 of Detective Comics. And like I said, these seem like they might be building to something. I think the Freeze, what is it? Fury of Freeze. I think this is going to be kind of an actual story that might expand out into other issues other than just 6 issues of Detective Comics. And that's really how it's been going. It's just like story arc, but there's no real connecting thread to it. And it's boring reading to me. I know some people love it. That's how they want their comics, is like, I want it started here and then I want it wrapped up in a nice little bow by the end of this 6 issues. And then we move on to the next thing. I don't like that. I mean, I've obviously expounded on that before, but yeah. Next we have Last Night on Earth, and I'm telling you right now, this is book 2. These books can't come out fast enough. I am absolutely ready, because as soon as I think I understand what's going on, Scott Snyder proves me woefully incorrect, and I develop a theory about it, and then it's wrong, and then I think I have it figured out, and then I'm wrong. And so the fact that it's always keeping me on my toes and I never know which direction that we're going to go just makes it that much more exciting to read. So yeah, Snyder, if you happen to see this, you need to just release them all. Release them all at once. Stop holding on to them. I know you've got them done. I know Capullo's got his art done. You guys are just holding on to them. So just make this from here on out a weekly thing that we can go in, pick them all up. And that's all you have to do. I'm not asking for too much here. Next is Curse of the White Knight. We've got book 2 and 3 here. And I mean, I would almost buy these just for the covers. It's phenomenal. The way they have Azrael in this is phenomenal. And so the way I read books is I assign some sort of accent or dialect or something to each character in the book. Typically, the main character is just in my voice because I'm reading it so much that it makes it easier for it to just be in my voice in my head. But yeah, so if I can assign like an actor to it, and then I know what that actor sounds like, then I'll just do that voice as I'm reading for the character. It's just something that helps me remember what I'm reading. And so usually Jean-Paul Valley, in the comics I always read with a slightly French accent. The way that the art's done in this one makes me want to read it with like a Cajun accent. I just imagine Jean-Paul Valley is just some Louisiana hillbilly that came out of the swamps, joined the army, and then found out that he was supposed to be the avenging angel of God. But yeah, it's a phenomenal story. The art's phenomenal. I love kind of the noir vibe that Humphreys has going on. Or not Humphreys, sorry. I'm thinking football. Murphy. That Murphy has going on in this. Yeah, it's just phenomenal. The Batman with the like flipped up cowl, and he's got his scruffy little beard hanging out. It's phenomenal. Next is Batman Universe, and this is Brian Michael Bendis, and I mean, it's a fun little story. It's not anything that I'm super excited about, and honestly, reading through it, I got just a little bit bored. Not so much with this issue, but the next issue. There's a lot of dialogue, and you can tell he was kind of writing it as an event piece. I believe it was something that was written and released at like Walmart, and then it did fairly well there. And so then they're like, well, let's just make it into an actual comic. And so then now it's being picked up at comic book stores. Like I said, it's not a bad story. It's clearly something that's meant to like catch people's attention, and it's, surprisingly, it's not too childish. I mean, if a kid picked this up and tried to read it, not that there's anything inappropriate in it, but there's some stuff that you'd have to know as far as DC history to really understand what was going on. So, I mean, it's not bad. What I'm hoping this isn't is their introduction to have Bendis write Batman, because I don't think I could read this all the time. It's nice for a little 6-issue thing that's going on. Other than that, it can be done after that. It'll make a cute little 6-issue thing, but I do not want Bendis doing Batman. It's just, he's doing all right with other things. Batman needs to be somebody else. Preferably, in my opinion, it needs to be Tom King, but I guess that's not the popular opinion. Next, I have Berserker Unbound, issue 1 and 2. This is one of those things where I saw Jeff Lemire was doing something, and then I just have to pick it up. Lemire is such a great writer. I got hooked on Lemire's writing whenever he did Moon Knight. His run on Moon Knight's my favorite by far when it comes to Moon Knight. And just about everything else that he puts out, especially like recent stuff that he puts out, is phenomenal. The storyline behind it is excellent. It's big Viking barbarian violence. You have warp tunnels. You have misplaced traveling warrior trying to get home. There's violence. There's curse words. There's adult situations. It's phenomenal. So you see this giant barbarian walking the streets of what I assume is New York. I don't know that it was ever actually stated what city it was. But yeah, I'm ready to dive into issue 3 and future issues for that matter. Next, we have a Kickstarter comic, Crescent City Monsters. I got 1 and I got 2, and I'm so glad that I got 1 and I got 2. This is an excellent story. I've picked up some comics off of Kickstarter, some that were, oh, my friend's doing it, or I know the guy, or, my friend knows a guy and they need some support. And so I'm like, yeah, I'll, throw in $30, get my name in the book, get a couple issues. This one, I can't wait to get the next one. I'm already absolutely ready to get the third one. Yeah, that's the thing that sucks about some of these Kickstarter things, is that, you're only going to get a couple every year. And so I really hope that my storytelling and Chris's art is good enough in hours that people feel the same way about Magnus when it comes out, because I flew through these 2 issues. And like I said, the art's amazing. It's all kind of like black and white, but it's not like a kind of a cheap grayscale looking thing. It's phenomenal detail in the art. I'm not an artist, so I don't know how to really describe it accurately, but it's phenomenal. It looks like somebody just took a full color comic, turned on the black and gray scale, and then just had an epic run on a comic. It's an enormous possibilities for the world that they've created. And yeah, like I said, I can't wait to dive in. They're already in 2 issues. They've already got an entire universe established with many, 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 many characters to explore. And you can tell they've only scratched the surface. Usually comics will set themselves up to do a 6-issue story arc. I mean, if they wanted to do I mean, if they want to do Walking Dead style story arcs where you're just putting together omnibuses to read so that you can have one solid story, that could be this. So shout out to those guys. It's Newton Lilavois and Giancarlo Bernal. Sorry that I know I butchered those names. Just search Crescent City Monsters and go buy these comics right now. All right, next we have Deceased. So I've got Deceased 4. I've got Deceased, A Good Day to Die. And then, obviously, I'm going to pick up the variant cover of Deceased, A Good Way to Die. So I love that they keep taking the characters and then zombifying them. And it makes a really cute full set to collect and to check out. I can't say enough. It's such a good story, especially for a zombie story. I know Marvel's got the new Contagion story out, which just seems like Marvel Zombies. I mean, to be fair, I haven't checked it out. I haven't looked at it. It's not in my poll. I'm really trying to cut back on that. I've got to narrow down my poll. I've got some events that are ending soon, so those are going to fall off, and then I've got 3 or 4 that I just have to cut out. I've just got to start saving some money. My poll is getting ridiculous, and since we're about to have a baby, I've got to be able to not spend that money. But yeah, it's zombies. It's zombies. They haven't really, honestly, figured anything out yet. They're just kind of living with zombies right now and trying to survive, which I'm fine with. I am perfectly okay with this. 4 issues in, and we're still just killing zombies. So, and there's that debate of, can we cure them? Can we not cure them? Is this just how it is now, and we have to kill them? But yeah, it's great. This one, Doomsday Clock, number 11. Man, if it wasn't such a good story, it's phenomenal how long this has taken to come. When I say I like a slow story, I don't mean I want 3 months in between each issue. But I get it. I mean, the art's fantastic, the writing's fantastic, but at a certain point, you start weighing, which one's more important, having it come out or having absolutely everything, pinpoint perfect on this. Like I said, at this point, I'm just ready for the last one. I'm ready for it to come out. I'm ready for it to be over. I'm ready to see what happens. We are, 4 events past this event. It's taken 2 years to get to this point. I think everybody's just ready. We're all just ready. Because there's so much has happened. The problem is so much has happened after this. So whatever happens in issue 12, it's not like it's going to be earth-shattering. Because we've already had earth-shattering events. We're about to go into Year of the Villain, which is event number 6 after this. And this was supposed to be the big thing that redefined DC, and we've already gone so far beyond it that I don't know. Unless they retroactively make Perpetua and Year of the Villain and all of this stuff happen before the end of this, I can't see how the last issue is going to be relevant at all. And that sucks, because it was an epic story. It was great art, and it was supposed to be the defining moment for DC. So a little bit disappointed. Again, this is one that I really love to hear what your guys' thoughts are. So hit me up in those comments. Next, we have Event Leviathan, which, again, it's an event. This has been really good. I mean, it's one of those things where you're trying to figure out who done it. They're leading you in a direction that you think you know who did it, but then you don't. What I'm curious about is, technically, I don't think they've killed anybody, which would line up with Superman. So if whoever Leviathan is has some evidence that shows that all of these organizations that they brought down were absolutely corrupt and were moving towards something else and were going to harm people in the process of whatever their schemes were, if Superman's going to side with them. I mean, that's my question. Right now, Superman is against them, but that's just because he doesn't know what they are. In Leviathan, every time he shows up, he's like, listen, I'm like you. And, you know, I hope that you'll see that you and I have the same goal here. Now, lots of people have said that. You know, Red Hood, who is, you know, the number one suspect for this, Red Hood says that all the time, is that he and Batman have the same goal, they just go about it differently. So having said that, again, Red Hood will kill people. Leviathan, I don't think, has. They've done a lot of property damage, and they've kidnapped a lot of people, and they're wreaking havoc on the world, but I don't think anybody's actually died. So correct me if I'm wrong. But next, I have The Flash, and this is 76, 77. These stories have been pretty good too. Again, I haven't read it. One thing that I do have an issue with in these comics is it seems like there's the same kind of underlying problem every time. Barry gets real secretive. Barry keeps telling people lies, and then Barry gets caught. And then Barry keeps secrets, and then Barry tells lies, and then Barry gets caught. And then Barry doubts himself, and then he keeps secrets, and it seems to be a reoccurring thing. Like it's just a trope that they keep hitting on. So I'd like to see a move away from that, but who knows? I mean, it's good stories, but the underlying arc is, you know, well, I need to stop keeping secrets, and I need to trust people more, and I need to stop lying, and I need to let people in and have more confidence in myself. And it's kind of just like an after-school special at a certain point while he's fighting crime. All the crime fighting parts are awesome. It's just the parts where it kind of slows down, and they kind of, it's almost like they needed filler, and so they have to say, well, you know, this happened because I didn't have confidence in myself, or I didn't believe in the people around me, and I need to trust everybody. And so it's just kind of that part's getting old. Everything else is phenomenal, though. Next, I have Gideon Falls. This story. So God, the way it ended. You finally get some answers. You finally get some confirmation about what's going on in a couple of the places. I don't quite understand the purpose yet, but man, the way this ends, God, I'm ready. It's got me so hyped for the next one. And it's so creepy. It's so creepy. They did such a good job of bringing up the creep factor in this. The art really lends itself to it. I mean, it says Jeff Lemire is the writer, but there are very few actual words in this. And honestly, you read through the words just so that you can stare at the art. The art really is the writer of this story. You could almost have no words, and you just look at the pictures and you'd get it, which to me is the sign of a fantastic creative team. I mean, I know I said the thing about Lemire not actually writing it, but you know, they're clearly working together, and they have the same vision for how this should be, and it's absolutely by far one of my favorite comics right now. Next, got Iron Man. Now, honestly, this is one of those stories that's really good. There's not a whole lot of branching out to other comics, which I like. I like the self-contained. Iron Man doesn't have to be involved in everything. He's already in Avengers, so we don't necessarily need this one to interact with a whole lot of other ones. Having said that, it's probably going to be one of the ones that I drop. And I mean, I don't know. It's really interesting. I really enjoy it. I like the struggle that Tony Stark's having with his humanity or lack thereof. I like that they're introducing Arno Stark back into it, although I'm not quite sure how he fits in, if he's going to be a next level villain or if he was just there and then kind of not, because it seems like it could go either way. They're about to get into a big Ultron run, so I'm probably going to see how the Ultron run plays out, and then just see where we go from there. Next, we've got Planet Caravan. This was something that I just picked up because it was awesome art. It was a #1. I'm going to be honest. The art's what pulled me into this, and the art is what kept me interested in this. But having said that, I don't know. The story just didn't grab me. Yeah, so not to like shit on the writer or anything. It just wasn't my thing. I see kind of where they're trying to go with it. I kind of see what the storyline's going to be. And not that it's not an interesting story, it's just not my favorite. But I would almost buy the comic just for the art. It's just rough, it's sloppy, and it's sloppy in just the right way. It's not like the guy's a bad artist and it was sloppy. It's just really showing you what the world is like, and this is how he envisions the world. Everything's just slightly stained in blood and sloppy. Yeah. Next, we've got the Riddler. This one, I don't know. I didn't like it. I kind of wish I hadn't picked it up. It was just a silly little one-shot. I don't know that it actually builds towards anything. It ends with the Riddler just saying, I'm not going to be the Riddler anymore. Yeah, I don't even really want to talk about it. It wasn't that good. Next, we've got Spider-Man. So this is the finale to the video game right here. And then we've got Velocity, which is the origin of one of his suits, which this one is exactly what I hoped it would be. It's written just like the video game. It reads just like the video game, and it makes you wish that there was a downloadable content of this comic in the video game. I'm glad they didn't just write continuations of this story from the DLC, because we've all played it, we've all gone through it, we know the story. So I thought it was pretty smart for them to introduce it through the game. So for those who didn't play the game, who get into it, the general story, and then they can expand on it, which is exactly what I was hoping they would do. Yeah, it's phenomenal. I can't wait to keep reading this. As long as Dennis Hopeless keeps writing this well and the art is this phenomenal, yeah, it's going to be one that I pick up. I enjoy this one more. Well, I guess it would have to be more so than the Amazing Spider-Man that is out right now, because I'm actually picking it up and I'm not waiting for the trades. But yeah, I'm super excited about it. Let me know there's like a million Spider-Man comic books out there. Let me know which one's your favorite. Next, I have Target Vader. This has been real hit and miss for me. Issue 1 was good. I enjoyed it. It was a different view. Issue 2 has got me definitely more invested. The problem I have with any Vader story at this point, especially if somebody's hunting Vader, is I know he's not going to die. So unless you can come up with some sort of big twist ending, we all kind of know where this is going to end. What I would like is for them to continue like they did with Dr. Aphra, and within these continuity comics, which is kind of how I refer to the Vader stories, you've got characters who have been introduced. Expand on them, go in their own direction, or create something completely new. I know it's hard. It's hard to do that, especially with Star Wars and an established universe. They want to have some sort of tie to the main, storyline. But I think at this point, you don't really have to. I think you can just do whatever you want to do now. You'd have to really trust the writers, and I think that's where the apprehension comes in. But anyway, next, we've got Action Comics. I've said it before. I think these are phenomenal. At first, I didn't like Bendis's take on Action Comics. I missed the old Action Comics from Rebirth, but it's fantastic. I really am enjoying more of the Clark Kent side of it. Even as Superman, he's more Clark Kent. He's doing the investigation. He's worried about reporting. He's trying to get the story, all while all of this Superman stuff is going on. So if you're not reading Bendis's run on Action Comics, you should for sure check it out. I know Bendis is getting a lot of shit for how he's writing Superman, which I don't mind. I never had this huge connection with Superman. I actually always kind of disliked it. I thought he was campy. I thought he was not that good. Picked up on Rebirth. I was a little iffy of Bendis picking it up. Yeah, it doesn't bother me that he had Rogolzar destroy everything. I think it kind of fits in with the story that they made. It seems weird to have Rogolzar destroy Krypton, but then have Dr. Manhattan reach in right before Rogolzar destroyed Krypton to pull. Yeah, it was just, I don't know. It's a little bit convoluted, but that doesn't mean the story's bad. Just because the plot's a little loose in some places, I can get around that. I can get around that with good story writing. Speaking of good story writing and speaking of amazing Superman, Frank Miller has taken Superman in whatever direction he wants to go, and I don't care. Which is amazing because so I get it. Bendis is messing with canon. Frank Miller is writing an Elseworld. This is not in any way, shape, or form canon to the Superman everybody knows and loves in the mainline DC universe, but he's definitely taking some liberties, and he's really stepping out in a lot of big ways. And again, I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. Next, we've got more Superman, more Bendis. The one for the Legion of Superheroes, clearly it's just setting up for the Legion of Superheroes comic book. Seemed a little bit campy to me. Again, going back with that. But I get why they're doing it. This is going to just switch back to whatever regular Superman is going to be happening next. So I'm pretty excited to see how. I'm ready to move on from Rogolzar, from this war out in outer space. I'm ready to move on from that to see what Bendis can do now that he's not, rewriting the origin stories for one of the most beloved superheroes of all time. Goodness, talking myself out of enjoying it. All right, next I have Thor, which was just kind of a wrap-up, which I thought was done really well. I'm going to talk about these two separately. So this one was done really well. There's a whole party. Thor setting himself up to be a king who deserves to be not necessarily worshipped, but looked up to, a king worthy of having people to reside over. yeah, it was just a good way to like wrap up the whole thing. It was very well done, very very well done. Next we have King Thor. I have a lot of mixed feelings about this. I I love the action of it. I love where the story's going. There's one part that I'm not sure about, and it's not that it can't work. It's that I need more. So obviously, it's got me to the point where I'm gonna definitely buy all the rest of them. I was probably gonna do that anyway, but yeah. Um, so hey, whoever just joined, what do we got there? What is the meaning of life? Okay. um, the meaning of life. Comics. Comics is the meaning of life. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you? Do I know you? Do you know me? Do you just happen upon this? I don't recognize your name, your handle, or anything like that. Um, but yeah, I don't know. If anybody's got an answer for him whenever you guys watch this, let this guy know what the meaning of life is. You just popped in and popped out. That was awesome. Uh, but yeah, so getting back to King Thor. Um, it's one thing that I'm just going to have to look at and read more of, and then figure out how I feel about what's going on. Next, I've got another three for Unearthed. 1, 2, and 3. This story just dumps you right in the middle of everything and doesn't explain a whole lot, and you just go along for the ride. It's gross. It's a big universe. You can definitely see flavors of spread in there. Um, yeah, it's a good story though. I'm ready to go along for the ride. I love all this gross horror alien art kind of stuff going on. It's almost like a mix between aliens and zombies. So yeah, I'm ready to see how that goes and what's going on in there. Next, we've got Valkyrie, which Valkyrie was phenomenal. I love the direction that that's going. It's going to be more of a team up comic, it looks like. I love the fact that she can see death over people's heads. So I think that's going to be something that like really bothers her throughout this whole thing. Yeah, and like I said, it's issue number 2, so there's not a whole lot to go off of, but yeah. Next, we have this stack, and we have House of X, Powers of X, House of X, Powers of X, House of X, Powers of X. We've got all of them. For one, these covers are phenomenal. I love all these covers. The variants too. I wish there weren't so many of them, just because I can't buy all of them. But yeah, I love the story. Again, this was one that I had no idea what was going on. At first, I was completely lost. The more I read into it, the more I obviously learned. Hickman does a good job of that, of explaining things 7 issues in, so that you understand what was going on in issue number 1. But yeah, I'm most excited for what this is setting up, because he took 12 issues to just set up. That's all these 12 issues were. There was something that started, there will be something that ends, but for the most part, it's just set up. It's set up for the scary thing is it's set up for like 7 different X-Men comics that are coming out. I will probably only be picking up like the mainline X-Men story, just because I can't get 7 different stories going on. But I'm gonna get the one that Hickman writes, and I think he's writing 2 or 3 maybe. But yeah, I've been very happy with these. I know some people are like, this is going too slow. It shouldn't have been like this. But again, it needs all of this room to breathe so that it can tell one big cohesive story. What I hope they do is they put all of this into one paperback or one hard cover or something. It needs to be all be in one bound book instead of House of X and Powers of X, because you're supposed to read them interchangeably. You're not supposed to read them independent of one another. So yeah, I think they need to be bound in one giant thing. So speaking of, I did not read this month, but I did pick it up. Batman Damned. This is an awesome. Even the dust cover is awesome. So you have Batman, and then there's like the city behind him whenever you press the dust cover up against the book. This was a phenomenal story. I absolutely loved it, and the hardcover was just too beautiful not to pick up. Next one. This is one that I have been super excited about. Middle West, Volume 1. I absolutely love this story. I love the art. I could definitely see, several movies coming out of this, and I would almost hope that they do animation. I don't think you can make a live action and do it justice. It definitely seems like an anime. It needs to be either animation or like a Nightmare on Elm Street stop motion sort of situation, or Book of Life or something like that. Yeah, it's phenomenal. So if anybody out there wants to do a comic rundown on Middle West, I'm down. I will do it tomorrow if you guys want to. But yeah, well, that's going to do it for me. I stayed on here a little bit longer than I wanted to. I'm trying to get this down to like 45 minutes. And I know if people talk to me, then it's probably going to go up to more than this, but at least it won't be me just talking to a camera the whole time. Yeah, I'm also looking for somebody who wants to do a weekly version of this. So we will just go over what we read in the week. So that way it won't be an hour and a half long every month. It'll just be, 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. It might be an hour, but we would do it every week. So it'd be more regular. It's not just going to be a giant pile at the end of the month. We could actually have some more discussion about it. Hopefully more people would get involved. But yeah, these are just the ideas that I have. So if anybody's interested, let me know. That's going to do it for me. I'm going to go upstairs, finish watching the Chiefs game. Sadly, my Cardinals lost today. My Ravens won. So it's not too bad. But yeah, make sure you hit me up on Facebook and Instagram at The Comic Den. Also, if you happen to find this video just scrolling through, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the little gray bell for notifications. And that's it for me.